It was a sweltering summer afternoon in Los Angeles when Keanu Reeves pulled his motorcycle into the rundown gas station off Highway 101. Despite being worth hundreds of millions, the Hollywood star was dressed in his characteristic simple attire: worn jeans, a basic black t-shirt, and scuffed boots. His long hair was slightly disheveled from the ride, and a few days' worth of stubble shadowed his face. Nothing about his appearance screamed celebrity, which was exactly how he preferred it. The small gas station had seen better days. The once bright sign was faded from years of sun exposure, and only 2 of the 4 pumps were operational. Inside the small convenience store, a young woman with dark circles under her eyes worked the register. Maya Wilson, 8 months pregnant, had been on her feet for nearly 6 hours straight on this double shift. Her husband had lost his job 3 months prior, and they were struggling to make ends meet with their first child on the way. As Keanu filled his motorcycle's tank, he noticed Maya through the store window. She moved slowly between tasks, one hand supporting her lower back, the other resting protectively on her swollen belly. When a customer dropped some items, he watched as she painfully bent to pick them up, her face momentarily twisting in discomfort. After paying for his gas, Keanu entered the small store. The air conditioning was barely functioning, offering little relief from the heat. Maya stood behind the counter, wiping sweat from her brow while trying to manage the small line of impatient customers. When his turn came, he purchased a bottle of water and observed her more closely. "Long day?" he asked quietly. Maya gave a tired smile. "They're all long these days, but we need the money, so—" She trailed off, unconsciously rubbing her belly. Keanu nodded, noticing the name tag pinned to her shirt. "How far along are you, Maya?" "8 months," she replied, somewhat surprised by his interest. "Only a few more weeks to go." "And they have you working double shifts?" There was no judgment in his voice, only concern. Maya shrugged. "Not much choice. My husband lost his job at the manufacturing plant, and medical bills don't pay themselves." She gave a small laugh that didn't reach her eyes. "Sorry, I don't know why I'm telling you all this." "No need to apologize," Keanu said, his voice gentle. "Sometimes it's easier to talk to strangers." As he left with his water, Keanu sat on a bench outside the store, seemingly in no hurry to leave. He observed Maya for another 20 minutes as she continued working, stocking shelves, operating the register, and periodically resting her hand on her lower back to ease the strain. Making a decision, he pulled out his phone and made a call. Then he walked back into the store. "Excuse me, Maya? Is your manager around?" She looked surprised but nodded. "He's in the back office. Want me to get him?" "Please, if you don't mind." A minute later, a middle-aged man with a permanent frown emerged from the back room. "Can I help you?" he asked, not recognizing the famous actor standing before him. "I'd like to speak with you privately if possible," Keanu requested politely. The manager, looking somewhat annoyed at the interruption, led him to a small office cluttered with paperwork and outdated equipment. What happened in that office would soon become the talk of the small community. 30 minutes later, Keanu emerged. He gave Maya a small nod as he walked past the counter and left. She thought nothing of it until her manager called her into his office. "Maya, you can finish your shift and then take the rest of the week off, with pay," he said, looking somewhat dazed. "What? Why?" she asked, confused. "That guy who just left, do you know who that was?" "Keanu Reeves, the actor, and he just—" The manager paused, as if still processing what had happened. "He just paid your salary for the next 6 months so you can rest before the baby comes. He also covered your health insurance premiums through the end of the year." Maya stared at him in disbelief. That's not possible. Why would he do that?" The manager shrugged. "He said something about noticing you were working too hard and that no expectant mother should have to choose between her health and paying bills." Tears welled in Maya's eyes as she struggled to comprehend this stranger's generosity. But Keanu's kindness didn't stop there. 2 days later, while Maya was resting at home, a delivery truck arrived with a crib, changing table, stroller, car seat, and enough baby supplies to last months. There was no note, no acknowledgement of the gift's source, but she knew. Word of Keanu's quiet generosity spread slowly through the community. Unlike many celebrity good deeds that were carefully orchestrated PR moves, Keanu had made no announcement, sought no publicity, and asked for nothing in return. He had simply noticed someone in need and acted with compassion. A week later, Maya's husband received a call from a manufacturing company across town. They were looking for someone with his exact qualifications and wanted him to interview for a position that paid considerably more than his previous job. When he asked how they'd heard of him, the hiring manager mentioned only that a mutual friend had recommended him. By the time Maya gave birth to a healthy baby girl a month later, her family's circumstances had changed dramatically. Her husband was employed, their immediate financial worries had been alleviated, and they had the breathing room to welcome their daughter without the crushing anxiety that had defined their lives just weeks earlier. They named their daughter Kai, a nod to the mysterious benefactor who had changed their lives without seeking recognition or thanks. It was only fitting, they thought, to honor the kindness of a man who embodied the rare combination of enormous success and genuine humility. As for Keanu, he had already moved on to his next film project, unaware of the ripple effects his simple act of compassion had created. This was hardly the first time he had quietly helped strangers or donated substantial amounts to causes he believed in. Those who knew him well understood that his generosity wasn't performative. It was simply who he was. In a world where celebrity philanthropy often comes with press releases and social media campaigns, Keanu Reeves continued to demonstrate that true kindness needs no audience. For Maya and her family, the encounter at that rundown gas station wasn't just about financial assistance. It was a powerful reminder that goodness still exists in unexpected places, and that sometimes heroes don't wear capes. They ride motorcycles, speak softly, and change lives without ever seeking the spotlight. In the months that followed, whenever Maya felt overwhelmed by the challenges of new parenthood, she thought of that brief interaction at the gas station. The memory reminded her that compassion can appear when least expected, and that a small act of kindness can transform not just circumstances, but perspectives. Through his generosity, Keanu had given her family more than material support. He had given them hope and the freedom to envision a brighter future. And perhaps that was the most shocking part of all, not the size of the gift, but the quiet, unassuming way it was given, with no expectation of gratitude or recognition. In a culture obsessed with fame and acknowledgement, Keanu's anonymity in giving was perhaps his most radical act. Maya sat in the rocking chair beside her daughter's crib, watching the gentle rise and fall of Kai's chest as she slept. The nursery was peaceful, bathed in the soft glow of a nightlight. The walls, freshly painted a pale yellow, were adorned with simple yet elegant decorations, all made possible by the mysterious benefactor who had entered their lives so unexpectedly. Her husband David entered quietly, careful not to disturb the sleeping infant. "She's finally down for the night," he whispered, placing a gentle hand on Maya's shoulder. "Yes, after 3 stories and 2 lullabies," Maya smiled, leaning into his touch. "I still can't believe this is our life now." David nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Just months ago, they had been drowning in debt and uncertainty, with Maya working dangerous double shifts despite her pregnancy. Now they had stability, hope, and most importantly, time. Time to enjoy their daughter's first months without the crushing pressure of financial ruin. "I saw something today," David said, pulling up a chair beside her. "There was an interview with Keanu on TV. The reporter asked him about his charitable work, and you know what he said?" Maya shook her head. He deflected, said something about how we all have the capacity to help others, and changed the subject. Not a word about any of the millions he's apparently donated over the years. Nothing about the children's hospitals he supports or the private foundations he's established. "That sounds like him," Maya replied softly. "From the little I saw of him." "It made me think about what real generosity looks like," David continued. "How different it is from what we usually see with celebrities. There were no cameras when he helped us. No social media posts. No press releases. He just saw a need and filled it, then disappeared." Maya gazed down at her sleeping daughter, her heart full. "That's what I want to teach Kai. That true kindness doesn't need an audience." In the quiet of the nursery, surrounded by the tangible results of a stranger's compassion, they made a promise to each other and to their sleeping daughter, that they would find ways, however small, to pay forward the kindness they had received. Not with grand gestures or public declarations, but with the same quiet generosity that had transformed their lives. 3 years passed. Maya and David had established a modest but comfortable life. David had been promoted at the manufacturing company, and Maya had started a small online business that allowed her to work from home while caring for Kai, now an energetic toddler with curious eyes and an infectious laugh. They had never forgotten Keanu's kindness, and true to their promise, they found small ways to help others, covering groceries for a struggling neighbor, volunteering at the local community center, establishing a small emergency fund at Kai's daycare for families facing unexpected hardships. One crisp autumn afternoon, Maya took Kai to a local park. As she watched her daughter climb the playground equipment with determined concentration, she noticed a man sitting alone on a bench, quietly observing the children at play. There was something familiar about his profile, the way he sat with both relaxed ease and alert awareness. When he turned slightly, Maya caught her breath. Older now, with a beard flecked with gray, but unmistakable, Keanu Reeves. For a moment she debated whether to approach him. He clearly valued his privacy, and she respected that. But the opportunity to express her gratitude in person was too significant to ignore. "Kai," she called to her daughter. "Come here for a minute, sweetie." The little girl ran over, cheeks flushed with exertion and happiness. "What, Mommy?" "There's someone I'd like you to meet." Hand in hand, they approached the bench. Keanu looked up as they neared, his expression neutral, but not unwelcoming. "Excuse me," Maya began, her voice steadier than she'd expected. "I don't want to disturb you, but I needed to say thank you." Recognition didn't immediately register in his eyes, not surprising, given how briefly they had interacted and how many people he must meet. "I worked at a gas station 3 years ago," she continued. "I was 8 months pregnant, working double shifts. You noticed and you changed our lives." Understanding dawned in his eyes, followed by a gentle smile. "Maya, right?" he asked quietly. The fact that he remembered her name after such a brief encounter and so much time brought tears to her eyes. "Yes, and this is Kai," she said, gently urging her daughter forward. Keanu's eyebrows rose slightly at the name, but he made no comment on the obvious tribute. Instead, he leaned forward slightly. "Hello, Kai. It's very nice to meet you." The little girl, usually shy with strangers, gave him a bright smile. "Hello," she said, before adding with the directness only a 3-year-old could manage. "My mommy says you're a hero, but you don't wear a cape." A genuine laugh escaped him, a warm, rich sound. "Well, capes are overrated," he replied seriously. "They get caught indoors." Kai nodded solemnly, as if this confirmed something she had long suspected about cape logistics. "We don't want to take up your time," Maya said, "but I needed you to know what your kindness meant to us. Not just the financial help, though that was incredible, but the way you did it, without fanfare or expectation. It changed how we see the world, how we want to raise our daughter." Keanu seemed almost uncomfortable with her gratitude, shifting slightly on the bench. "You deserved the help," he said simply. "I'm glad things worked out for your family." They did. David, my husband, loves his job. I've started my own small business, and we have this little one. She smiled down at Kai, who was now attempting to climb onto the bench beside Keanu. "We've tried to pay it forward when we can, in small ways." "That's all any of us can do," he replied. "Small acts of kindness, they add up." They chatted for a few more minutes, not about his fame or films, but about life's simple pleasures. Kai's recent discovery of dinosaurs, Maya's fledgling business selling handmade children's toys, the changing colors of the park's leaves. Throughout the conversation, Keanu remained present and engaged, giving Maya and her daughter his full attention despite the occasional curious glance from passers-by. As they prepared to leave, Maya hesitated. "Would it be all right if I took a photo, not to post online or anything like that, just for us, for Kai when she's older, so she remembers meeting you?" Keanu nodded, and they snapped a simple photo, Keanu kneeling beside Kai on the playground, both smiling naturally at the camera. Nothing staged or artificial, just a genuine moment between two humans whose paths had crossed at the right time. "Thank you," Maya said again as they parted ways. "Not just for today, but for everything." for showing us what real kindness looks like. Keanu smiled that distinctive smile that had graced movie screens for decades. Thank you for saying hello. It's not often I get to see the ripple effects. He looked at Kai one last time. She's wonderful. You've done a good job. As Maya watched him walk away, she reflected on the strange, beautiful intersection of their lives. Celebrity culture often reduces stars to two-dimensional caricatures, either putting them on pedestals as flawless idols or tearing them down for human failures. But the real Keanu Reeves was neither a saint nor a carefully constructed image. He was simply a person who, when presented with the opportunity to help someone struggling, chose kindness without hesitation or expectation. In that choice lay a profound lesson Maya hoped to instill in her daughter. That true character is revealed not by grand public gestures, but by what we do when no one is watching, when there's nothing to gain but the quiet satisfaction of having eased another's burden. That night, as she tucked Kai into bed, the little girl asked sleepily, "Mommy, is that man really a hero?" Maya smoothed her daughter's hair gently. "There are different kinds of heroes, sweetheart. Some save the world in movies with special effects and dramatic music. But others, the real ones, they help people quietly, without anyone noticing. They see someone struggling and reach out a hand. Those are the ones who change the world, one small act at a time." "Like when you helped Miss Rodriguez with her groceries?" Kai asked, referring to their elderly neighbor. "Exactly like that," Maya smiled. "The world is full of heroes who don't look like heroes at all. They look like ordinary people doing extraordinary things when no one's watching." As Kai drifted off to sleep, Maya thought about how a chance encounter at a gas station had set in motion a chain of events that transformed not just their circumstances but their perspective on life itself. The true value of Keanu's gift hadn't been the money, though that had undeniably changed their immediate situation, but the example he had set of unassuming generosity. In a culture increasingly defined by performative virtue and carefully curated public images, Keanu Reeves had demonstrated that true character exists in the space between public perception and private reality. In those quiet moments when we choose kindness simply because we can, not because we seek recognition or reward. For Maya and her family, that lesson would continue to shape their lives long after the immediate benefits of his financial assistance had faded. And perhaps that was the most shocking aspect of Keanu's act of kindness. Not its magnitude, but its quiet authenticity in a world that rarely values either quality. As for Keanu himself, he continued his life's journey much as he always had, moving through the world with humility and compassion, leaving behind a trail of small kindnesses that, taken together, revealed the true measure of the man behind the famous name. The world would always debate his films, his talent, his place in Hollywood's hierarchy. But for those whose lives he had touched directly, the cancer research foundations he'd anonymously funded, the film crews whose children's medical treatments he'd covered, the countless strangers like Maya who had benefited from his quiet generosity, there was no debate about his character. In the end, that was his most enduring legacy. Not the characters he portrayed on screen, but the character he demonstrated when the cameras stopped rolling and the world wasn't watching. And for Maya, David, and little Kai, that legacy would continue to inspire their own small acts of kindness, creating ripples that would extend far beyond what any of them could imagine, all because one man had noticed a pregnant woman working too hard at a gas station and decided, without fanfare or recognition, to help.